Hi. Well, it's another edition of Bedtime Story Express. Tonight I'm going to read you a book called My Brother Martin, A Sister Remembers. Growing Up with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is written by his big sister, Christine King Ferris, and it was illustrated by Chris St. Pierre. Here we go. I have a dream that one day little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. And that was said by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., August 28, 1963. And here we have the first pages. She dedicated it to her granddaughter, Ferris Christine Watkins, and all the other children of the world. That means you too, who will continue my brother's dream of turning the world upside down. Gather around and listen as I share childhood memories of my brother, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am his older sister, and I've known him longer than anyone else. I knew him long before the speeches he gave, and the marches he led, and the prizes he won. I even knew him before he dreamed the dream that would change the world. And let's see if you can see, that's Martin Luther King's sister. His big sister. Are you a big sister or a big brother? I am. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Oh my God. They're a lot of fun. We were born in the same room, my brother Martin and I. I was an early baby, born sooner than expected. Mother dear and Daddy placed me in the chifforobe drawer that stood in the corner of the upstairs bedroom. I got a crib a few days afterward. A year and a half later, Martin spent his first night in that hand-me-down crib in the very same room. The house where we were born belonged to Mother Dear's parents, our grandparents, the Reverend and Mrs. A.D. Williams. We lived there with them and our Aunt Ida, our grandmother's sister. So, a lot of you probably have your aunt and your mother and your father and cousins, the more the merrier. It's warmer that way. And not long after, my brother Martin, who we called ML, because he and Daddy had the same name, our baby brother was born. His name was Alfred Daniel, but we called him AD after our grandfather. So Christine's got 2 baby brothers. They call me Christine, and like 3 peas in 1 pod. Can you see the picture? Okay. We grew up together. Our days and rooms were filled with adventure stories and tinker toys, with dolls and Monopoly and Chinese checkers. And although Daddy, who was an important minister, and Mother Dear, who was known far and wide as a musician, often had to work that took them away from home, our grandmother was always there to take care of us. I remember days sitting at her feet as she and Aunt Ida filled us with grand memories of their childhood and read to us about all the wonderful places in the world. And of course, my brother and I had each other. We 3 stuck together like the pages in a brand new book. And being normal young children, we were almost always up to something. Our best prank involved a fur piece that belonged to our grandmother. It looked almost alive, with its tiny feet and little head, and gleaming glass eyes. So, every once in a while, in the waning light of evening, we'd tie that fur piece to a stick, and, hiding behind the hedge in front of our house, we would dangle it in front of unsuspecting passers-by. Boy, you could hear the screams of fright all across the neighborhood. Here's the picture. Look, they're scared, and there's a little fur piece. You see it? These are excellent pictures. Oh, I missed a page. There was the time Mother Dear decided that her children should all learn to play the piano. I didn't mind too much, but ML and AD preferred being outside to being stuck inside with our piano teacher, Mr. Mann, who would rap your knuckles with a ruler just for playing the wrong notes. Well, one morning ML and AD decided to loosen the legs on that piano bench so we wouldn't have to practice. We didn't tell Mr. Mann, and when he sat, crash! Down he went. There's Mr. Mann on the floor. He's mad. pictures are sticky. But mostly we were good, obedient children, and ML did learn to play a few songs on the piano. He even went off to sing with our mother a time or two. Given his love for singing and music, I'm sure he could have become as good a musician as our mother, had his life not called him down a different path. But that's just what his life did. My brothers and I grew up a long time ago, back in a time when certain places in our country had unfair laws that said it was right to keep black people separate because our skin was darker, and our ancestors had been captured in far-off Africa and brought to America as slaves. Here's ML playing the piano. And Dad, you didn't know Martin Luther King played the piano. I didn't either. Atlanta, Georgia, the city in which we were growing up, had those laws. Because of those laws, my family rarely went to the picture shows or visited Grant Park with his famous cyclorama. In fact, to this very day, I don't recall ever seeing my father on a streetcar. Because of those laws and the indignity that went with them, Daddy preferred keeping ML, AD, and me close to home, where we'd be protected. And, everybody likes to be protected. It's so much more warmer and closer and more safe and secure to be at home. We lived in a neighborhood in Atlanta that's now called Sweet Auburn. It was named for Auburn Avenue, the street that ran in front of our house. On our side of the street stood 2-story frame houses, similar to the one we lived in. Across it crouched a line of 1-story row houses and a store owned by a white family. When we were young, all the children along Auburn Avenue played together, even the 2 boys whose parents owned the store. And since our house was a favorite gathering place, those boys played with us in our backyard. Here's all the kids playing together in the backyard. And ran with ML and AD to the firehouse on the corner, where they watched the engines and the firemen. The thought of not playing with those kids because they were different, because they were white and we were black, never entered our minds. Well, one day ML and AD went to get their playmates from across the street, just as they had done 100 times before, but they came home alone. The boys had told my brothers that they couldn't play together anymore because AD and ML were Negroes, and that was it. Shortly afterward, the family sold the store and moved away. We never saw or heard from them again. Isn't that sad? They lost their friends for no reason. Looking back, I realized that it was only a matter of time before the generations of cruelty and injustice that Daddy and Mother Dear and Mama and Aunt Ida had been shielding us from finally broke through. But back then, it was a crushing blow that seemed to come out of nowhere. And there's the boys. They're separated by more than just that street. Uh-oh. Why do white people treat colored people so mean? ML asked Mother Dear afterward. And with me and ML and AD standing in front of her, trying our best to understand, Mother Dear gave the reason behind it all. Her words explained the streetcars our family avoided and the whites-only sign that kept us off the elevator at City Hall. Her words told why there were parks and museums that black people could not visit, and why some restaurants refused to serve us, and why hotels wouldn't give us rooms, and why theaters would only allow us to watch their picture shows from the balcony. But her words also gave us hope. She answered simply, because they just don't understand that everyone is the same, but someday it will be better. And that day is today. We have President Obama. We don't have those signs anymore. And it's up to us to make the everyday things, the little things in life better, if we have courage. That's a hard thing. And my brother ML looked up into our mother's face and said the words I remember to this day. He said, "Mother dear, one day I'm going to turn this world upside down." Here they are, little Dr. Martin Luther King and his grandma. In the coming years, there will be other reminders of the cruel system called segregation that sought to keep black people down. But it was Daddy who showed ML and AD and me how to speak out against hatred and bigotry and stand up for what's right. Doesn't have to be race or color. Just stand up for what's right. Daddy was the minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and after losing our playmates, when ML, AD, and I heard our father speak from his pulpit, his words held new meaning. Oh, the picture. There's the picture. Beautiful pictures. Beautiful. I love it. I hope you do too. After Daddy practiced what he preached, he always stood up for himself when confronted with hatred and bigotry. And each day he shared his encounters at the dinner table. See, they all sit and eat together. I love it. I do. My new house now have a dining room, so we can all eat together. When a shoe salesman told Daddy and ML that he'd only serve them in the back of the store because they were black, Daddy took ML somewhere else to buy new shoes. Another time, a police officer pulled Daddy over and called him boy. Daddy pointed to ML sitting next to him in the car and said, "This is a boy. I am a man. And until you call me one, I will not listen to you." That was very brave. These stories were as nourishing as the food that was set before us. Years would pass and many new lessons would be learned. There would be numerous speeches and marches and prizes. But my brother never forgot the example of our father or the promise he had made to our mother on the day his friends turned him away. And I'm going to point at him. It's a big picture. That is a picture in... Where's my finger? There. That's Martin Luther King. When he was much older, my brother ML dreamed a dream. Here's a painting. Excellent painting. That turned the world upside down. And that's it. I'm going to read you a poem. And I'm going to just read part of it. Because I want you to get the book and I want you to read it for yourself. You Can Be Like Martin. A tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by Mildred D. Johnson. Martin was a peaceful boy and peaceful when a man. He wanted peace for everyone, all throughout our land. You can be a peaceful child, even a peaceful man. You can be like Martin. Yes, you can. My name is Miss Vonda. I loved reading to you. You can listen to this anytime you feel like it. I'm going to keep making these videos, keep reading you books, and I know we're going to have a good time together. I think I'm going to call this the BTS Express, Bedtime Story Express. Thank you. Hug yourself good night. Hold yourself real tight, because everything in Dreamland is always all right.